Ladies, let me break something down for you right from the start. Men are simple, but our emotions, oh, that part gets complicated. We're raised to be tough, to keep a straight face, to hold everything in like nothing bothers us. But when a man becomes emotionally attached to a woman, when she gets into his spirit, into his peace, into his everyday thoughts, he can't hide it. Not even if he tries. His behavior starts changing in ways he doesn't recognize. His patterns shift. His priorities rearrange themselves. His actions start speaking louder than anything he could ever say. See, a man might not come out and say, I'm attached, because vulnerability ain't our default setting. We don't wake up wanting to pour our hearts out, but we do show it. And the truth is, emotional attachment makes a man do things he never did before. It makes him put in effort without being pushed. It makes him pay attention to things he never cared about. It makes him protect your peace, your feelings, and your space like they matter as much as his own. When a man is emotionally attached, trust me, he betrays himself in the sweetest ways. He starts checking in not out of habit, but out of genuine concern. He becomes consistent without being reminded. He starts planning life with you without even realizing he's doing it. He becomes vulnerable in tiny moments he never shared with anyone else. So today, we're breaking down the 5 things a man cannot stop doing when his heart is involved, and I'm giving you the game in a way only Steve Harvey would. Real, raw, relatable, and straight to the point. Sign number 1, he protects your peace like I tease his own. When a man is truly emotionally attached to you, something deep inside him shifts quietly, naturally, without him even realizing it at first. He starts treating your peace like it's a part of his own well-being. Your smile becomes his fuel. Your calm becomes his responsibility. Your comfort becomes his mission. And he does it not because you demanded it, not because you begged for it, not because you laid out a list of requirements, but because his heart won't let him operate any other way. When a man is emotionally invested, protecting your peace becomes a reflex, not an obligation. He watches the little things, not just the big moments. He notices when your voice sounds tired, even if you say you're fine. He pays attention to the tension in your shoulders, the shift in your tone, the silence between your sentences. He wants to know what's bothering you, not out of curiosity, but out of care. And most importantly, he wants to take some weight off your shoulders, not to be your hero, but to be your partner in calm. His attachment shows in how he moves around you, how he speaks to you, how he listens without rushing you, how he tries to shield you from things that might drain you emotionally. An emotionally attached man will also protect your peace through his actions beyond the relationship. He becomes mindful of what he brings into your life. He avoids unnecessary drama, meaningless arguments, and energy-draining habits. He starts making choices that reflect, how will this affect her? Not because he's changing who he is, but because he wants to contribute to the peace you already have, not disturb it. And he protects your peace in ways you never have to ask for. When you're upset, he's patient. When you're overwhelmed, he gives you space without making you feel alone. When life hits hard, he stands a little closer. When your day goes wrong, he becomes the part that goes right. His presence becomes a soft place to land rather than another source of stress. He becomes the calm in the noise, the steadiness in the storm. A man who's emotionally attached doesn't play with your feelings. He doesn't create chaos and then call it love. He becomes consistent. He communicates better. He chooses clarity over confusion. He tries, really tries, to understand you, not to win an argument, but to protect the harmony between you. He's not perfect, but he's intentional. And let me tell you the truth, protecting your peace is one of the strongest forms of love a man can offer. It means he values your mental and emotional state. It means he respects your heart. It means he cares enough to guard the environment you live in mentally. When a man truly cares, your happiness isn't a bonus. It becomes a priority tied to his own. That's how you know he's emotionally attached. not by his words alone, but by the way he guards your peace like it's something sacred, because to him it is. Sign number 2, he can't help showing consistent effort. When a man is emotionally attached, effort stops being something he does. It becomes something he is. It becomes built into the way he shows up, the way he communicates, the way he loves. You don't have to push him, remind him, beg him, or explain the same need 10 different times. He just shows up over and over again because he wants to, not because he feels pressured, not because he fears losing you, but because his heart is invested in keeping what he values. When a man truly cares, his consistency becomes his love language. He doesn't disappear for days and come back acting like nothing happened. He doesn't create highs and lows just to keep you guessing. He doesn't leave you hanging, wondering, doubting, or questioning where you stand. He makes you feel secure because his presence is steady. His words match his actions. His intentions match his behavior. His promises turn into patterns. He becomes reliable, not because he's perfect, but because he's committed. Consistency for an emotionally attached man shows up in the smallest behaviors, the ones most people overlook. He checks in not out of obligation, but because he's thinking about you throughout the day. He plans ahead because he wants to make sure you feel considered. He follows through even when he's tired, even when he's stressed, even when life has him stretched thin, because making you feel valued matters to him. He remembers the details you shared during casual conversations, not because he's trying to impress you, but because those details actually matter to him. A man who is emotionally attached doesn't need to be taught how to prioritize you. He already does. You naturally become part of his daily rhythm. And the thing is, it's not about grand gestures. It's about the consistency behind the simple ones. The calls, the texts, the small acts of kindness, the steady communication, the day-to-day presence that builds trust without him even trying. His effort isn't loud, but it's steady. It's not dramatic, but it's dependable. It doesn't need applause because it comes from genuine care. Another thing about emotionally attached men, they keep showing effort even in tough moments. When misunderstandings happen, he doesn't just walk away. He tries to work through it. When life gets busy, he doesn't shut you out. He keeps you in the loop. When something feels off, he doesn't ignore it. He addresses it. His effort doesn't vanish when things aren't convenient. That's how you know it's real. Consistency is a powerful sign of attachment because it requires intention. It requires emotional involvement. It requires a man to show day after day that he is choosing you. And when a man is attached, that choice isn't a burden. It's natural. It's instinctive. It's part of how he operates. And perhaps the biggest proof of his emotional attachment is this. He doesn't let you feel replaceable. You don't feel like an option. You don't feel lost in confusion. You don't feel like you're chasing him. Instead, his consistent effort makes you feel seen, valued, and prioritized. He is present even when life is heavy. He is invested even when things aren't perfect. He is consistent because he cares, deeply, quietly, and sincerely. When a man is emotionally attached, he won't just show effort at the beginning. It becomes the way he loves you, continuously, consistently, and with intention. That's the kind of effort you never have to ask for because it comes straight from his heart. Sign number 3, he studies you, not to impress you, but to understand you. When a man is emotionally attached, he pays attention in a way that feels different. He isn't studying you to win you over, to play a role, or to check off boxes like some performance. He studies you because he genuinely wants to understand how you think, how you feel, what you need, and what makes your heart come alive. He wants to learn you the way someone learns a language, not to show off, but to speak to you fluently. When a man has real feelings, he becomes a student of who you are. He watches the way you react to things, not because he's analyzing you, but because he cares about how the world affects you. He notices the things that excite you, the things that drain you, the things that make you smile without you even realizing it. He pays attention to the way you talk about your dreams, the tone you use when you're stressed, and the quiet moments when something is bothering you, but you don't want to say it out loud. He sees you, the full version of you, not just the surface level parts the world sees. An emotionally attached man remembers the details that matter. Not your favorite color because it sounds cute in conversation, but the restaurant you said makes you feel comforted when life gets heavy. Not your birthday because he wants to look thoughtful, but the things that shaped you into who you are. He wants to understand your past, your patterns, your triggers, your boundaries, because he wants to meet you where you are, not force you where he wants you to be. Understanding you becomes important to him because your happiness becomes important to him. He listens to you more than he talks. He pays attention to your silence just as much as your words. He picks up on the little shifts in your energy, a slight change in your tone, a delayed text, a shorter reply, and he checks in not to pry, but because he feels connected to your emotional world. A man who studies you isn't looking for weaknesses to use. He's looking for the spaces where he can support you. He learns how to show up for you in the ways you receive love, not the ways he's used to giving it. If acts of service comfort you, he starts doing things that lighten your load. If quality time fills your emotional tank, he makes space for you in his schedule. If words of affirmation soothe your insecurities, he becomes intentional about how he speaks to you. He pays attention because he wants to speak your heart's language, not force you to learn his. A man studying you isn't about control, it's about connection. It's about him wanting to be someone who fits into your life, not disrupts it. It's about understanding what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel valued, what makes you pull away, and what makes you open up. And the more attached he becomes, the more curious he becomes, because love makes him want to know the depth of the person he's choosing. This kind of effort can't be faked because it shows up in how he treats you. It shows up in how he responds to you. It shows up in how he adjusts, adapts, and grows in the relationship. A man doesn't study you to manipulate you. He studies you because he's invested, because he wants to love you better, because understanding you is his way of honoring the connection he feels. When a man is emotionally attached, he doesn't just look at you, he sees you. He doesn't just listen to you, he hears you. He doesn't just want you, he wants to know you. And that kind of understanding creates a bond that goes deeper than attraction. It's the kind of connection that lasts. Sign number 4, he makes space for you in his world without you asking. When a man is emotionally attached, he doesn't wait for you to ask for a place in his life. He gives you one, naturally, effortlessly, quietly, but intentionally. He starts weaving you into his world in ways that feel genuine, not forced. He wants you in his daily life, not as a guest, not as an afterthought, but as someone who matters. And the most beautiful part is that he does all of this without you having to request it, hint at it, or fight for it. A man who is emotionally attached does something many men avoid. He lets you into the parts of his life that he usually keeps guarded. His routines, his priorities, his stress, his dreams, his people. Slowly, he starts pulling back the curtain and making space for you to step into it. He wants you to see who he really is when the world isn't watching. He wants you to understand the things that shape him. He wants you to know where he spends his time, what he values, and what kind of life he's building. When a man is attached, access becomes easy. You don't have to chase it. He also starts including you in his decisions, not because he feels obligated, but because your opinion suddenly matters to him. He cares what you think about his plans, his ideas, his goals. He wants your input, not because he's dependent on approval, but because he values your perspective. You become a voice he respects, not just a person he talks to. That shift alone speaks volumes about his attachment. You'll notice he makes physical space for you too, in his schedule, in his environment, in his future. He creates time for you even when he's busy. He keeps you updated, not as a chore, but because he wants you to feel connected. He introduces you to the people he trusts, family, close friends, colleagues, not to prove something, but because he wants them to know who has his heart. A man who isn't attached keeps you separate from his world. A man who is attached brings you into it. And then there's the emotional space he makes. He opens up more. He shares deeper. He lets you see the human side of him. The fears, the hopes, the vulnerabilities he hides from everyone else. He lets you sit with him in the parts of his life where he usually stands alone. You become part of his safe space, not by demanding it, but because he invites you into it. That's the difference between a man who's just here for a moment and a man who sees you as someone he wants to build with. Men don't give their peace, time, or emotional energy easily. When they do, it's intentional. When he makes space for you without you asking, it's because his heart is already ahead of his words. He's already investing. He's already imagining what life could look like with you in it. He's already choosing you long before he says it out loud. He shows you that you belong in his life, not temporarily, not conditionally, not halfway, but with both feet in, not through promises, but through patterns, not through big speeches, but through everyday gestures that quietly say, you matter here. That's what emotional attachment looks like. It's the kind of presence you don't question because his effort speaks for itself. Sign number 5, he becomes vulnerable in ways he never allowed before. When a man is emotionally attached, something inside him begins to soften, not in a weak way, but in a real, human, honest way. He starts letting you see sides of him that he has spent years protecting from the world. Men are taught to be tough, to hold it together, to never show cracks. But when his heart connects to yours, he does something he rarely does for anyone. He lets his guard down. Vulnerability becomes his way of trusting you, not because you ask for it, but because he feels safe with you. He begins to share pieces of his story that he never talks about, not the polished version he gives to the world, but the truth, the failures he's embarrassed by, the pain he's carried alone, the fears that keep him up at night, the dreams he's afraid to speak out loud. He shares these things not for sympathy, not to impress you, but because he feels understood by you. Emotional attachment creates that comfort. It gives him the courage to say, this is who I really am, without worrying that you'll judge him or walk away. You'll see it in the way he expresses his emotions too. Men who aren't attached stay on the surface. They joke, they flirt, they keep it light. But a man who is connected to you starts letting you see the deeper layers. He tells you when something hurt him. He tells you when he's overwhelmed. He tells you when he's confused, frustrated, or uncertain about life. He might stumble through it. He might not have the perfect words, but he tries, and that effort alone is proof of his attachment. He also becomes vulnerable with his affection. A man who is emotionally attached doesn't play cool with his feelings. He doesn't hide the fact that he cares. He doesn't pretend he's indifferent. Instead, he lets you see the ways you affect him. The way your presence calms him, the way your absence bothers him more than he wants to admit, the way your support makes him feel stronger, the way your voice brings him comfort. These aren't things he shows just anyone. These are the parts of himself he saves for someone who matters. And one of the biggest signs of his vulnerability is that he lets you see his insecurities. Every man has them. Fears of not being enough, fears of losing someone he cares about, fears of failing in a relationship. Most men hide these fears behind confidence, humor, or silence. But when he's attached to you, he stops hiding. He shows you what scares him. He tells you where he doubts himself. He opens the locked doors he never opened for anyone before. He becomes vulnerable in the way he lets you in emotionally, but also in the way he lets you influence him. He starts taking your advice seriously. He lets your words shift his perspective. He lets your presence guide him. Allowing someone to influence your inner world, that is one of the highest forms of emotional vulnerability. A man who becomes vulnerable isn't trying to be dramatic or needy. He's showing trust. He's saying, without words, I believe you won't use my softness against me. And that's powerful. Because for a man, vulnerability is not a small step. It's a leap. And he only takes that leap with someone he truly feels connected to. When a man lets you see who he is beneath the armor, understand this. He isn't just opening up. He's attaching. He's choosing. He's allowing you into a part of him that almost nobody gets access to. That vulnerability is proof of the depth of his feelings, genuine, real, and rooted in emotional attachment. Sign number 6, he can't risk losing you, so his actions start speaking louder than his words. When a man becomes emotionally attached, something inside him shifts. He stops treating you like someone who might stay and starts treating you like someone he cannot afford to lose. That fear isn't rooted in insecurity. It's rooted in realization. Realization that you bring a kind of peace, energy, and meaning into his life that he doesn't find easily. Realization that losing you would leave a space nothing else could fill. And once this awareness hits him, his behavior changes in the most noticeable way. His actions start speaking louder than anything he could ever say. Words can be fake, promises can be stretched, but consistent actions, that's where a man reveals his emotional truth. When he's truly attached, he becomes intentional about how he shows up. He becomes more aware of how his behavior affects you. He becomes more attentive to the things that matter to you. He stops playing it cool and starts becoming accountable, reliable, present, and engaged, not because you demand it, but because he feels it deeply. You'll notice he becomes more careful with your heart. He doesn't want to say things in anger that he'll regret. He doesn't want to create distance he'll struggle to repair. He doesn't want to disappoint you and pretend it doesn't matter. He starts thinking before he reacts. He begins choosing his words more thoughtfully. He shows patience, even when he's frustrated. All of this is his silent way of saying, I care too much to lose what we have. Then comes the effort, real, consistent, meaningful effort. He makes more time. He checks in more regularly. He shows up without being asked. He listens more attentively. He protects the connection with you, not through big romantic gestures, but through everyday actions that keep the bond strong. He puts in the type of effort that makes you feel seen and valued, because that's exactly how he sees you. You'll see it in the way he handles conflict too. A man who doesn't care will walk away, shut down, or replace you. But an emotionally attached man tries to understand your perspective. He wants to solve problems instead of ignore them. He wants to rebuild instead of withdraw. He's willing to have uncomfortable conversations, not because they're easy, but because losing you would be harder. That shift alone is proof that you matter more than his pride. He also becomes more intentional about the future. He starts making plans that include you. He talks about things months ahead without hesitation. He brings you into the decisions he once made alone. His consistency becomes stronger. His presence becomes deeper, and his investment becomes more visible. He stops leaving you uncertain because uncertainty risks distance, and distance risks losing you. A man who is emotionally attached doesn't rely on words to reassure you. He lets his actions build trust brick by brick. He shows you the truth in how he treats you. He shows you loyalty in the choices he makes. He shows you affection in the time he gives. He shows you commitment in the effort he contributes. You don't have to decode mixed signals. You don't have to question his intentions. You don't have to wonder if he's still in it. His behavior answers every question before you ever need to ask. When a man knows your absence would leave him empty, he stops taking your presence for granted. His fear of losing you doesn't make him clingy. It makes him mature. It makes him conscious. It makes him step into a version of himself he didn't know he had. His actions become louder than his words because he understands something real. A woman like you doesn't come twice. And that's why he changes. That's why he shows up. That's why he chooses consistency over comfort, effort over excuses, presence over pride, because losing you isn't an option in his heart, and his actions make that impossible to ignore. Real love, us not confusing. Real love is not confusing. It doesn't leave you guessing, doubting, or trying to decode mixed signals like you're solving a puzzle you never asked for. When a man truly cares, his behavior becomes clear. His efforts become consistent. His presence becomes steady. Love stops being something you chase and becomes something you recognize, something you feel, something you don't have to question. When a man is emotionally attached, you don't sit around wondering where you stand. He shows you, not with speeches, not with poetic lines, but with actions that match his words. He protects your peace. He makes space for you in his world. He becomes vulnerable in ways he never did before, and he shows up in ways that prove you matter. That's what real love looks like. Steady, intentional, and unmistakable. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't play hide and seek with your heart. The kind of love that doesn't disappear when things get difficult. The kind of love that doesn't make you feel like you're asking for too much just by wanting consistency and effort. When a man is truly invested, you won't have to beg for clarity. He will give it to you through the way he treats you. So don't settle for confusion. Don't settle for half love, half effort, or half presence. The right man will make it obvious. He'll show up, he'll stay consistent, and he'll choose you. Not quietly, not occasionally, but fully. Because real love, the kind that lasts, is never confusing. It's honest, it's intentional, and it always shows itself